This is a case that we have filed against the Adani Group in the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport case. One of my grounds for declaring null and void any talks or agreements with Adani is the lack of parliamentary approval, but more importantly, the lack of public participation. I want to say this to you, Daniel, that, one of the problems I have with some of these public interest matters that have failed before the courts is that sometimes the public read a headline, so and so has gone to court, and the court has given an order stopping it. And then the next time you hear is the court has thrown away the issue. But the public were never told in between what happened. In terms, first of all, to the quality of the suit that was put, to the ability of that suit to sustain itself up to the Supreme Court, and so forth. I raise this issue because is that if your approach is a sole person, you are an individual doing everything yourself, and you want all the success or failure to come to you and you alone, then public participation cannot be the anchor that you put your case upon, because when it goes for the test, it does not actually have the elements of public participation. Now, let me give you an example of what I mean. Our case against Adani in the High Court or for the airport has, number one, the workers. The Kenya Aviation Workers Union are part of the suit, over the 5,000 of them. So means the entire workforce of the airport. We have the three opposition parties joined in the petition: the Wiper Democratic Movement, the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, and the Jubilee Party of Kenya. And the reason that I endeavored to enjoin them to the petition, although I'm the lead petitioner, was because I did not want to go it alone. I wanted it to be as representative and as involved as possible. Obviously, the workers were involved with me right from the beginning, more than anyone else. But the idea that is going to be tested in the courts as a public interest case, I believe that we have met the threshold. And I'll be interested to see how the courts will handle this one, because some of the other cases that may fall on the sword may not have been as collaborative. They may have cited public interest, but they may not have brought in not just the quantitative, but the involvement of several sectors in order to show a representative structure of the country when you claim public participation. In the petition of Tony Gachoka versus Adani, one of the things that I ensured that I did was I made sure that the public interest was not just voiced in my affidavit. I was very, very clear that the workers of the airport, the 5,000 or so unionized workers of KAA, were part of the suit, and they are there as interested parties. It was very important to me to involve the political parties in the opposition of Azimio, who include Wiper, DAPK, and Jubilee, and their parties of the suit. And what I'm saying that is you are adding to what Anthony is raising is whether or not that can be the norm. Other than that, it's within my case because I foresaw that question of public interest. When we are submitting before the Honorable Court, we shall be making that exact point you are saying. That, look, we have come here, yes, I'm the petitioner, but enjoining me are the following parties who got over 5 million votes in the last election. Are the workers of the airport who got so many whatever, and therefore the public interest against this Jomo Kenyatta issue can actually be not only quantified, it can be voiced. And that is part of what we are trying to capture in the petition. Was that absent, for example, in this finance bill of 2023? Was in the case, was that absent? Was it not quantifiable? Could that be one of the reasons? If you have something like a green belt movement, we can start taking a public interest matter. For example, IBC. We take something and we begin to hammer it, and then we quantify it in terms of electronic and so forth, so that Kenyans, wherever they are, can be able to join. And then we start to challenge the constitutional architecture, the constitutional arrangement as to what is public participation, but we breathe life into it. We, the people, as you are reading in the Constitution, are the ones to build life into our own institutions. Red Cross was not built by angels, it was built by people. The Wangari Maathai movement was not built by angels, it was built by people. People can get together and decide. Even in the older days, if you remember, FIDA was fighting for women and women rights. The Federation of Women Lawyers coming together to give legal services and so on to women that were suffering, both in terms of matrimonial issues or etc. The question is, how do we breathe life to the public participation provisions of the 2010 Constitution? And how do we ensure that we rise up against the political class? Because coming together matters. If you remember, when unions come together, like when all doctors go for a strike or teachers, and now in the case of the dons of the universities, there is strength in numbers, both in terms of the quantitative element, but also the qualitative and the effect, and something that can also have legal teeth, because once you are united in documenting something and you put it before a judge, you can actually show the quantity, as Daniel is saying. So maybe the takeaway here is, what do we do as the citizens of the people of Kenya to be able to give life to public participation away and outside the control of parliament or the control of the executive, so that it becomes a tool that we develop. So as by the time the 2025 finance bill is coming, itakuta tuko tayari. I think that I have found to be a very, very useful contribution. One of the things I would like to tell Kenyans is that when you develop a crisis response mechanism, if you look at disaster, for example, the establishment of the Red Cross, which is an international institution in several countries, when there is a disaster, because the Red Cross has built a reputation and a standing, they are able to say so many people are killed, this is the cost, this is the level of the destruction, and they are held, as a very important indicator in the public confidence and in the public discourse in disaster management. And I think that when the public participation as an issue first came in full focus in Kenya was during the aborted BBI initiative that was fronted by then President Uhuru Kenyatta and his partner Raila Odinga. And the courts then were able to deal in a very, very robust way on the issue of public participation. And when the BBI was killed, there was almost an immediate infusion in the public discourse and in the public dialogue of this new monster called public participation. And the successes of the public participation in the BBI, or lack of it, has never been captured elsewhere until there came the public protests over the finance bill of 2023 and later of 2024. And of course, there was also the public uprising against the housing levy. And all of them were within that period of time, right after the election of the Kenya Kwanza government. So during this period, there has been several court verdicts that have gone against the mood and the grain of the public participation. And then the question then comes, was it that it was not properly done, or was public participation divided? Was it not unified in a way that you can quantify it like the Red Cross and say, this is what Kenyans are saying?